We do be is back once a motherfucking go. Sup? Welcome back. Week 14. We are back. Bradley Lamb in the house. How we
We
feeling?
back. Feeling good. I mean, it's the last week before playoffs. There's a lot of exciting stuff kind of shaping up. My team's not looking so hot for playoffs, but we're looking towards the future.
Hey, and on the other side of the coin, I'm looking great for playoffs. Undefeated season. No one has ever seen a season like this before. The LSU Balls, OSU hands are very excited for the future and can't wait to step into the arena. 14 weeks in, man. We missed a
Flies
few
by.
weeks. I think week 11 was the last time we did this recording. So sorry for the kind of delay in recordings. Bradley and I, just haven't been able to meet, and then especially with the holidays, I'm sure we've all been kind of busy. But appreciate your patience with us. To start us off, Bradley, what are you thinking?
Let's see. I mean, I feel like the biggest thing to happen in the last week. I mean, there's a lot that's happened in the weeks that we haven't been here.
Mm-hmm.
In that span of just a couple weeks, DMC came back. He was going to save people's seasons, and now he's out again. He's a bum. Even his backup Jordan Mason's out for the season. The 49ers are a complete shit show.
They are a complete shit show, and it feels kind of rough having any piece in the 49er kind of team right now. I mean, um, just having any of the stars on the team, it just feels like this team is just like, hey, uh, we're littered with injuries. Let's just try and save ourselves for next year. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting. And I got Ricky Pearsall, and I was hoping that he would have a good year this year, but I mean, he gave me some fucking goose eggs the past 3 weeks after getting 11 points and then following that with 17 and nearly a half. But yeah, this
But
entire
keep
49ers team just looks kind of ass right now, and it's pretty sad to see for the Niners. If you're a Niners fan, if you're a Niner hater, hey, this is the moment that you've been living for. You've been wanting to see the Niners demise, and so this is very sweet right now.
all my homies hate the Niners.
All my homies hate the Niners. Um, so starting top down, kind of what last week looked like. We got you and Adam. Kind of an 85.58, a little interesting. 8558, a little reversal of numbers there, kind of interesting. To Adam's 135.34. Um, Bradley, what is going on with your team? Let us in. How you feeling? What's the make of all of this?
I mean, a lot of this is to be expected. I had not great games for my players who I would expect
Wait, you
more
play
from.
is
I
Can
did. Okay, so here's the thing. I check my lineups frequently. I don't know how Keon Coleman and Rashad Bateman made it into my starting lineup and were both out.
what the
I don't
We've
know
been
how
talking
that
about this
happened.
all year long about shaming those who play injured players in and on their lineups, and I didn't realize it until just now that you did it yourself.
Me neither. I honestly I have no idea how it happened, but yeah, kind of a bummer on that end. My team doesn't look good to begin with, but that on top of it really doesn't help. On the flip side,
You even had Mac Jones on the bench who hooked you up with 24 points. Could have
he
made
could
this
have
a
been
bit of a
big for
close
me.
battle.
Yeah, especially with Brock Purdy on the other side showing why I claim that he's a sophomore junior quarterback.
Absolute bum.
He's not him. He's benefiting highly from a Shanahan offense. And when, he doesn't have a ton of weapons around him, when he's thrown to the elements in a snow game,
Mhm.
just looked lost out there.
Mhm.
He's still got great running back depth, great receivers.
Yeah, like
But yeah, the
Isaiah
quarterbacks they're
Guerrero,
they're shaky for me.
who you
Yeah,
actually have.
Garendo.
Don't you have
I've
him?
got Garendo, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's making his way into my starting lineup this week.
no longer a 49er hater. And look at you. You even have Israel Abanikanda, who was just claimed up by the Niners. Also, you
Yep,
drafted
I
this
got all the
guy.
backups.
You drafted this guy in the 25th round. Looked like you had this kind of lined up in your brain.
Oh yeah, I saw his pathway to his starting position for sure when I drafted him in the 25th round.
We'll definitely go a little bit more into depth when we start talking about the weekly matchups. But just to sum it up, Bradley versus Adam. I mean, Adam, his team is just way better than yours. I was on week 14.
There's
Adam's
a
team is
reason
just way
he's looking
better.
for playoffs and
Yeah.
I'm fighting for the first overall pick.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, Calvin Ridley getting up 6.5, Debo with 4. Like this team is beatable. Obviously Brock Purdy with the 2 in 16. It's like you don't expect your quarterback to do that next week. But this is not what you want to see leading up into playoffs. And once we go into the rankings, we can kind of go into a little bit more depth. But I'm a little shaky on this team. But let's move on as we've already spent enough time on them. We got a pretty exciting matchup. Trevor versus Jackie. This was a very high scoring slug match between the two, and just goes to show that even if you have Chuba Hubbard who's giving you 2.3 points, you can rely on, I guess, Russell Wilson providing you with 33.86 points. Um, so just shocking performances out of. I mean, we say this every week that Trevor's team just does a beyond what he is projected to do, and we're shocked, but like at this point we shouldn't be. I mean, Brees Hall even got only 6 points that week, so it's like if he just, you know, does the bare minimum of his projected of 17, I mean he's going above 200 points, and this is a team to be reckoned with going into playoffs. And for Jackie, it's a tough loss. You had some hope with Jerry Jeudy providing you 40.5 points on Monday, but then when you have David Njoku on the other side giving the opponent 26.2 points, it's really tough. It's really tough. And I know Jackie was telling me that she had very little hope going into Monday night, but to say that you're 19 points away, I mean, I would say that's a pretty good accomplishment.
Yeah, I mean these are both teams with very strong quarterback rooms. It's something is that's very very important for superflex leagues. And it's no surprise that both of these teams are putting up really big numbers. It's just a shame that Jackie putting up 170 just wasn't enough this week. But yeah, both these teams are looking really strong, especially moving into playoffs.
Yeah. Awesome match. You love to see a high scoring match like that, so just keep it up, and hopefully we can see that in the playoffs and see where it actually counts. But kind of a bit of a shock. I don't recall who had who, um, but Sushant loses to Xander. They are division rivals. Sushant needed this win to continue his basically fueling his playoff dreams. And Xander coming out with a surprise win, even with Jay Sherbert, aka Justin Herbert, providing only 7.9 points. But he just had some dogs on his team. While I mean, dogs being the Arizona Cardinals, just kind of going off versus Minnesota. Unfortunately, they lost. But I don't know. I mean, Sushan even started Devonta Smith, who didn't actually end up playing. So that's a bit of a smack on the ass for you, Sushan. I don't know if you could have managed to prevent that, but um, your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, it's a real killer for Sushant, especially given that Xander's now projected to make playoffs because
Mm-hmm.
of this win. Um, as we get deeper into the season, and this is a quote from Hard Knocks AFC North, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fantastic show. I watched the first episode last night. Highly
So
recommend
good.
it.
It's so
I
good.
can't remember. I think it was John Harbaugh was saying long seasons are built to weed out the fake contenders from the real contenders. Um, and as we get further into the season, these wins matter more and more and more if you're fighting for this playoff spot. And both of these teams fighting for a playoff spot and Xander edging it out, it's huge for him, especially going into this next week when things are really going to start to come down to the wire.
Yeah. I got some high hopes for Xander. I've said it all year that Xander's been a bit of a sneaky link in my opinion. He has really good players, in good positions. Unfortunately, he loses Diggs, but for the year
Hmm.
due to ACL. But I mean, this is a very competitive matchup, and we'll talk about it in the upcoming games. But this game right here had some big implications on the future of what our playoff bracket will look like. But speaking about our playoff bracket, we got Kieran and Ryan. Kieran inching out a 10-point win over Ryan, who is 1-12, who was consensus basically last place this entire year, almost inching out a win. Very shocking.
Yeah, and a huge win for Kieran. He's been fighting for playoffs. His team struggled early. They're starting to turn it around, but it's just a question of if it's too late. Um, we'll get into that a little bit later in the upcoming weeks, but or the upcoming week matchups. But yeah, just a great week from both of these teams. I mean, it's kind of surprising seeing Ryan, whose team we consistently rank is the bottom, 11 or 12 team in this league,
Mm-hmm.
but he's looking pretty solid,
Yeah.
especially these past few weeks. Brock Bowers is just a complete phenom, like a generational tight end. He's looking great.
Amazing.
Anthony Richardson's starting to turn it around. So
Oh yeah.
real surprising stuff from Ryan's team, but a great
It's
win for Kieran to
You know what?
to
And I
inch
just
out.
want to talk about this just very briefly, but like Anthony Richardson, after the game against Houston, when he was like, I'm tired, I need to sit on the bench, didn't play for 2 weeks straight, plays against the Jets, 30 points, plays against, a tough Detroit team, 12.9 points, and then plays New England, 27 points. I mean, everyone was saying this guy was washed. He was, this guy is shit. This guy's, you know, is a bust, but like he is starting to really come out on his own. And during the window of trading for players, Anthony Richardson was on sale, and a lot of individuals in this league who needed a QB decided I'm not going to touch that guy because I don't believe in him. And right now, if you're a team like Kieran who's been looking for a QB all year, seeing Anthony Richardson, play against you, doing this well, do you feel a little regret for not trading for Anthony Richardson?
Yeah, it's tough. It really seems like, the kind of media backlash and the benching that he got from that game in Houston was a bit of a wake up call because we've seen how talented this guy is, and he's still so like he's 22 years old. He's
Mm-hmm.
still got so much room to grow if he really puts his mind to it. So yeah, we got a bright future, I think, for Ryan's team.
Yeah, a bright future indeed. Next we want to go into Seth versus Jacob, and I mean, what a battle! I mean, Seth has looked unstoppable all year, and he's currently 9-4, and we've kind of seen his team slip. I think what 3 weeks in a row now. Week 12, he lost in week 12. Week 11, where is Seth? Seth lost to me. Week 10. Okay, yeah. So Seth won and last win was in week 10. So he's down 3 weeks in a row. Um, and then this week losing to Jacob. I mean, it's tough. We look at Jacob's team and we say, hey, this guy has a team that's ready for playoffs. He's got running back galore. He does have holes on his team, and he has big question marks on some of his players. Um, but being able to inch out a win against Seth is very impressive with Lamar Jackson putting up nearly 30 points. Gibbs had a disappointing week. Robinson getting 25 and a half. But Bradley, any analysis on what went wrong?
I mean, it's honestly been crazy to see how successful Seth's team is, given some of the trades he's made, kind of trading players away to accumulate picks for future years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's been really riding high on the Atlanta offense. Bijan, Daryl Mooney, and Kyle Pitts have been great so far, but we're starting to see maybe father time catch up with Kirk Cousins, and he just can't get it done anymore with these receivers. Obviously, Bijan is still an absolute beast, but Daryl
Beast.
Mooney and Kyle Pitts combining for 5 points, that's brutal. So I think Seth, he's got the pieces there. It's just a matter of building out that depth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is a bit of a struggle for him.
Yeah,
On
and
the
I
other
mean,
side,
yeah,
mixing with the Mick Cafe, it's just a great week from him. Even with an off game from CD, still putting up enough
yeah, 5 points,
enough points to
6
win.
wins. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, great job for Jacob. He told me that, he was um, still aiming for playoffs. I think around like week 5 or so when, McCaffrey was out and he wasn't looking too hot. And, his team has made an incredible run up. And, I'm excited to see what the future looks for him in the playoffs. And our last week, me versus Reese. Um, I'm just pretty overconfident with my team right now. So, this is kind of to be expected. Bucky Irving, though, he has been very surprisingly good. 2 weeks in a row with 27 points. Um, I'm pretty fucking happy about that. That's for sure.
Yeah, Bucky the Bull has been looking great these past few weeks. He's really starting to turn it on towards the end of the season. And, this win, obviously it matters to you. You're going for that undefeated season. You're now at 13-0. But this game also has huge playoff implications for Reese. So him losing this game is, um, I think he would have clinched playoffs had he won it. So it's a pretty
hmm
devastating loss for him with big playoff implications coming down to this week. Still a great week from him, but it's hard to beat
Josh
one and
Allen
four.
with both a passing, rushing, and receiving touchdown. Like, damn, you wish
It's
that
insane.
with that kind of performance out of your QB1, that the rest of the team could like kind of follow follow in line. But just Reese had a disappointing performance from his running backs, and Michael Pittman and Williams just unfortunately are not having that breakout season that we were all hoping for those two.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, let's go into the weekly rankings. I know we've kind of harped on last week quite a bit already. So, Bradley, you want to kind of go down the rankings?
Yeah, so spot number one, no surprise. LSU balls, OSU hands. Your team just looks solid all around. You've got a great quarterback situation, stud running backs. I mean, the big question mark for your team, I feel like all season has been the RB2. And now you got Bucky Irving slotting in there getting like 30 points a game, which is insane. So I feel like, there's no question here with you being ranked as number one.
Yeah. Um, and Trevor, I mean, Trevor's been inching up the board. Was that 3.5 points up since the last time we did this on week 11?
Yeah, big moves.
Big moves for Trevor. Trevor's team is looking really, really strong, and I apologize for ever saying that you were tanking the season, and I feel like that's gonna bite me in the ass during playoffs. But Trevor's team is looking really freaking good.
It is. He's again just a story. He's got great quarterbacks in Jordan Love and Russell Wilson. He's got great pieces. The Chuba Hubbard play kind of hurts him a bit this week, but if you look at his bench, he's got Adam Thielen with 23, Keenan Allen with 24. Um, so he's got great star players, great depth. I think he's really primed for a good playoff push.
hmm Oh man, and I forgot that the Detroit game's going on right now, so I looked at Seth's game and or Seth's team and
Yes, it
already got
is.
3.9 points with Gibbs. That's awesome. But I mean, speaking about Seth, we had a bit of contention here with Seth and Adam. I ranked Seth 3, and you ranked Seth at 5. I ranked Adam at 5, and you ranked Adam at 3. So, sell me your idea. Why'd you rank them this way?
Yeah, so the big thing with Seth, why I have him ranked where he's at, he's got, like I said previously, he's got great pieces. He just doesn't have a ton of depth on this team, and that comes from him trading some players away for future picks. I think his team looks much better in the next few years than it does right now. On the other hand, we have um, Adam's team, which I still don't love the quarterbacks. It's been my critique of this team all season. But other than that, he's got great players. Justin Jefferson, Calvin Ridley's looked pretty good.
hmm
He's got Debo, Marvin Harrison. So he's got pieces. It's just the quarterbacks concern me. But overall, I like the ceiling of Adam's team more than Seth's team,
Does have a really
especially
nice
with how
ceiling.
reliant Seth's team is on the Atlanta Falcons, who are looking shaky the past few weeks.
Yeah. And it's funny because Seth and Adam are playing each other this week, so
Hmm.
that'll definitely shake up to show us who is right and who is wrong here. Um, but I will say between Seth and Adam right now, I mean Seth's projected 99.44 considering Lamar Jackson's on bye, but yeah, I feel like Seth's gonna lose this week for sure. Next, let's try to run it down fairly quick. We both have the five. Well, shit. I ranked Jackie at 4. You ranked Jackie at 6. I ranked Kieran at 6, and you ranked Kieran at 4. I'm just gonna say that I like. I mean, I'm a little biased here, obviously, but I like Jackie's team much better than I like Kieran's team, for the fact that Kieran's team, as much as they have performed recently to attempt a playoff push all season long, has proven, and unfortunately there's been circumstances out of his hands like injuries, but have proven that his team doesn't necessarily have the stamina to keep up. Like, he traded a lot for AJ Brown, and AJ Brown is not giving him the points that he needs for the amount of capital that he sent away for him. And losing out on Bijan to acquire Nico in the middle of the season really hurt him because Nico was out, as we all know. So, now that Kieran is getting all of his pieces together, it's going to be really interesting to see how playoffs look, because his team, on paper looks really good, but his team, in my opinion, has a little bit of performance anxiety.
Yeah, I think, that's fair, and it shows in his record. The thing I like about Kieran's team, I mean, I like both these teams' quarterback situations, but the ceiling for Kieran's quarterbacks right now just seems honestly higher than pretty much most other, teams with their quarterback situations. Caleb Williams has been really just throwing it like crazy the past few weeks. And then, he's got Cooper
Yeah.
Rush right now. But Jameis Winston, I mean, this guy goes crazy. He threw 3 interceptions and still scored 44 like fantasy points. He's like just
On
an
Denver,
absolute
too.
maniac. Yeah, he just throws it like he doesn't care about throwing picks. So he's like just completely fearless quarterback who's just bombing touchdowns like you wouldn't believe.
And
Throwing
I feel
28
like
times a game.
that's also part of the coaching. I feel like because Nick Chubb is not at the level they expected him to be at this point, he's not looking that great out there. Jerome Ford is also not performing as well as everyone wanted him to. I feel like they really have to rely on the air attack. And Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, those two guys are great receivers, and then you got Cedric Tillman, who's been a bit of a dark horse this year, and then David Njoku, who catches everything that comes to him, and last year had his face burnt off in a fire and fucking came back next week to play. Like, the Browns have a surprisingly gritty kind of team when it comes to receivers, and they really like throwing it right now, and it seems like they're kind of switching up what they're trying to do in the second half of the season. And if you watched on Hard Knocks, they're all for it. Like, they're saying, hey, you want playoffs? We're in playoffs. They're playing against Pittsburgh, which if they were in playoffs, they would play against Pittsburgh. If they were in playoffs, they'd be playing against Kansas City. If they were in playoffs, they'd be playing against Cincinnati. If they're in playoffs, they would play against Miami. Like, these are 4 teams that are playoff potential teams that the Browns, even though they're not in playoffs, they're going to want to be spoiler. They're going to want to be out there, chew some kneecaps. So, yeah, you know what? After kind of hearing what you're saying, I do think now that Kieran has some pretty good upside when it comes to his quarterbacks. And, yeah, his team looks a little scary for the playoffs.
And I
Let's try.
will say,
Yeah.
like, just real quick, you and
Yeah.
Trevor, I feel like that was an easy 1-2. 3 to 6, I had a really hard time ranking. I feel like
Yeah.
all of these teams are so close.
They're so close.
I just give the edge to Kieran a
Yeah.
bit because of that ceiling on his quarterbacks right now.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. Yeah. I see it. And then here, I got reset 7, you had reset 8, and then kind of vice versa with Jake. You had Jake at 7, I had Jake at 8. I just think Reese's team is better than Jake's team, but Jake did just beat Seth. So you know what? I think I'm actually going to do a little retroactive change in the middle of the session and give...
Holy.
Yeah, I
Those
think
are
I'm gonna
big
give Jake
hits.
7 because Jake's team is actually really good when it comes to running backs. He has some really good wide receivers. I don't recall what does his quarterback situation look like.
He's got solid quarterbacks.
Stafford and Darnold, so they're very hot and cold though. They're very hot and cold.
Hmm.
Reese, on the other hand, he has a humongo gap in his running back position. Kenneth Walker is very up in the air right now. I mean, I have him in a lot of leagues. Yeah, I think that looks a lot better like that.
Hmm.
And you have Sushan at 9 and Xander at 10, and I had it a bit flipped. I think Xander's team is looking much better than Sushan's team right now. And I mean that kind of goes to show last week when Xander beat Sushan.
Yeah, I think last week was a tough one for Sushant. Let me just look at this matchup. Yeah, again, these teams, they're close. They're really close. I think I might have to, you know, meet you halfway here and do a little retroactive change because the more I look at these, Xander has some fantastic quarterback depth. He had Tua with 30 on the bench that game,
Mm-hmm.
whereas Sushan has one starting quarterback, and it's Patrick Mahomes, who's, a great real life quarterback, but he's looked shaky lately. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think, again, these are two close teams, but I'll give the edge to Xander because of how good his quarterbacks are.
Let's go a little retroactive in the rankings. Hey, don't say that we are boomers that are set in stone because we'll change our opinions on the fly.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, let's go to the upcoming games. And I'm going to go top down based on how my sleeper looks, except for near the end when we go talk about the um, game of the week. But this week, it's me versus Xander. This is a big one. Kind of, in my opinion, it's a sneaky good one because I want to stay undefeated. I kind of want to have that record under my belt going into playoffs. So I would love to keep the undefeated record, be able to beat Xander. But I'm dealing with some buys right now, and I don't have a second quarterback to play as Jaden Daniels is on bye week, and then Lawrence is out for the rest of the year, unfortunately. Um, so that kind of sucks when it comes to that trade that I made because I was really hoping to use Trevor Lawrence when Jaden Daniels went on his bye week. Um,
Unlucky.
Unlucky, rubber ducky. But this is really important for Xander. If Xander wins here, I believe he locks in playoffs. However, if he loses but still performs very well, um, he will, I think, still have the edge out on Sushant because I believe right now Xander's points forward is higher than Sushant's. And if he loses, he'll be 5-9. But if Sushant doesn't beat Ryan, he will be 5-9. So it's very close. Xander really needs this win to secure playoffs, but there is still hope for him if he loses. He just needs to really outperform his projection to kind of maintain that lead.
Yeah, definitely. It's tough. Like you mentioned, you've got some buys that are hurting your team, but you're still fighting for that undefeated season, especially the first season of the God Gamer Cup, going undefeated. That's historic.
That's
You're
historic.
setting a precedent for all future contenders. On the other side, we have Xander, whose back is against the wall. He's fighting for a playoff spot. So yeah, we
Mm-hmm.
got a really exciting game here.
And Nick Westbrook Akine, I've been talking every time this guy gets a touchdown, I say Xander is a goddamn genius because this guy free agent. He was a free agent picked up on October 30th. Um October 30th, how many weeks ago was that? So that was 5 weeks ago. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So after this Detroit game, that Nick Westbrook-Akine played, Xander picked him up. He then goes on to get 16 points. Great, performance considering you're projected 6.5. Then the Chargers, underperforms unfortunately. 6 points. What are you gonna do? But then 19 points, 12 points, 21 points. He has scored 2, 4, 6, seven touchdowns since that Detroit 7 touchdowns, including that Detroit week. 6 after that Detroit week, but 6 touchdowns basically after um, Xander picks Nick Westbrook Akine, and I think this is one of the best pickups of the year. Honestly, like this is a sneaky, really good pickup. I'm honestly afraid of Westbrook Akine because he is somehow just putting up fucking numbers. So he is the guy that I'm worried about this week. If this guy performs well, I don't see myself doing that well this week.
Yeah, he's looked great so far.
Yeah.
He's turning on when it matters.
He's turning on when it matters. And speaking about turning it on when it matters, Bradley versus Jackie. Jackie, this is about the time where you want to turn it on when it matters. You got Travis Etienne, who's been an absolute bust this entire year. Not scoring over 10 points since week 5. Right now, with Trevor Lawrence out,
Yikes.
Travis Etienne went to college with Trevor Lawrence. And Travis Etienne has to be thinking to himself right now that I'm going on the field and I'm going to murder the opponents because of what they did to my boy Trevor. So Travis, this is when he needs to buckle up for Jackie and her team because playoffs are right around the corner, and if she wants a shot at winning the cup, this team needs to light on fire and go. So this is an important week for her to show off that her team can go off, and this is kind of an important week for you to kind of tank almost. We don't want to say it out loud, but let's be honest, you're tanking. I mean, even the projections show that Jackie's very favored in this matchup. But Bradley, tell us, what are you looking forward to in this outcome? In this match?
So, like you said, there's no kind of beating around the bush. This is a bit of a bye week for Jackie. I think even if it's not, she's already locked for playoffs. But yeah, we're looking for Travis Etienne. His chief just got decapitated in front of him. So yeah, he's gonna be running angry, for sure this week. As far as what we're looking for my team, now I did a bit of digging in the statistics of the league.
Oh yeah.
So right now,
Mm-hmm.
me and Ryan are neck and neck for that first overall pick. The
Ooh.
inverse points for Ryan currently has 16 less max points for than me. So if Ryan scores more than 16 points than me this week, I lock the first overall pick. If he scores less than 16 points than me, he locks the first overall pick. So it's a big week, as far as that goes. So
And Watson's
I'm
already
for
helping
some
you with
low numbers.
0 for 1 right now.
Exactly. 0 for 1 feels good. Hopefully he keeps those numbers down.
Yeah. We want to do our best to not encourage it, but it is kind of fun to watch because it's not only the pieces that you put in, it's the pieces that you have not put in, right? So whoever does well on your bench will also contribute to that end of year points forward score on what the best team would have looked like for you. So yeah, important week for your team to suck, basically.
Exactly. Even on the bench, I'm hoping they all do bad because, yeah, like you said, there's no point in benching good players to try and get a good draft pick.
God, imagine
based on inverse max.
Waking up on Sunday like, I really hope my team fucking sucks.
Dude, that's me right now. I'm gunning for that first pick.
Christian Watson, ball goes through his hands. Yeah!
Exactly.
All right. And next, we got Jake versus Trevor. Both of these teams are looking like they're going to be making it to the playoffs. So this is a bit of a skirmish beforehand, trying to test the water, feel each other out, see, if you want to put in this player or that player in, mix and match to see how well your team does this week to try and kind of future project into the weeks. Brad, what's your analysis on this kind of matchup?
Yeah, it's a big game. It's
Well, they're both 8-5 actually.
Exactly. Both teams 8-5. You got two playoff bound teams, so this could very well be a preview of a playoff match. So you really want to see how does your team stack up against a playoff bound team on any given week, because that's all playoffs are. They're just another week, except the stakes are a lot higher. And at the time of recording this, Trevor, he's already got money shot Monty in the end zone, so that's feeling good for him. Exactly. So he's hoping to keep the ball rolling on that.
J Love at .92, but we're only in the first quarter, so relax.
Exactly. It's an exciting match, and I got to
Hmm.
give the edge to Trevor on this.
Yeah, definitely giving the edge to
It's
Trevor on
exciting.
this. Yeah, uh, I think Trevor will for sure win, but Jake try to be that spoiler almost. Try to spoil his fun with was that Patrick P. Washington? Yeah, Parker Washington, whoever this guy is, who got 24 points last week versus Houston. That's kind of
We'll
scary.
see if he keeps those numbers
That's
up.
kind of scary. Next we got Gibbs Mia Chubb Seth versus Permanent Taxi Squad Adam. Another two teams going into the playoffs. You know, Unfortunately, we can't really get a clear look at, how these teams will stack up against each other, like, in a skirmishing mindset, because Seth has no quarterbacks right now. All of his quarterbacks are on bye. He can't really
Hmm.
pick up a quarterback off the waivers, so Adam is kind of getting a free win this week. And if Seth beats Adam, I don't know, someone's got to drink some piss or something. This is fucking crazy, you know?
And it's looking like that's gonna happen so far. Adam is projected much higher than Seth right now. Um, so yeah, it's a rough week for Seth. He's already locked in playoffs, but you definitely want to still be fighting for a good seed. So,
Mhm.
this if Adam does secure this win, it's a big for him. He's sitting 7-6 right now, so he might be able to bump himself
Mhm.
up into a more comfortable week 1 playoff matchup and knock Seth down a bit.
Yeah, but I mean, if you lose this week, that's demoralizing. You go into the playoffs like I can't even beat someone with two QB with all of his QBs on bye. Like, can I beat
Hmm.
anyone? So, Adam, this is a bit of a knock on wood moment for you. You gotta beat Seth this week, and if you don't, I don't really like that feeling going into playoffs. So, pretty important match. I'm gonna skip over one and the one matchup because we're gonna save that for the end. But right now we got a pretty, not the game of the week, but I would say kind of mini game of the week between Sushant and Ryan. And I just want to set the stage a little bit because, like you said, Ryan kind of needs to suck here for you. Last week, or
Hmm.
no, Ryan needs to do fucking amazing this week.
Needs to
Um,
suck for himself for his own good.
Yeah, yeah. But last week proved that Ryan could be a contender if he had just his pieces going, at all
Hmm.
cylinders. Throughout the entire year, his team has been up and down. QB does good, but wide receivers do ass. Wide receivers do good, QB does ass. So it's just been kind of up and down. That hasn't been able to sync up properly. Um, for Sushant, on the other hand, he has only one QB this entire year. It's been, a struggle bus for him, but he's still, looking for playoffs, and he was projected to go into playoffs as he was the division, leader between himself, Xander, and Ryan. So this is a bit of a divisional fight right now between Sushant and Ryan. I mean, I think we all have divisional matchups actually. I think all of these are divisional matchups, but Sushant, if he loses here, he's out.
Hmm.
He's for sure out. If he wins here, he could potentially secure himself a slot in the playoffs, depending on how well Xander does. But if Ryan beats out Sushant and Sushant has a disappointing week this week, Sushant is out of the playoffs and Xander gets in the playoffs. If Ryan does well this week and beats, Sushant, like I just said, then you're getting first pick and Ryan's is getting second pick. So pretty consequential on this matchup. We'll be eyeing this kind of all Sunday.
Yeah, very much so. And I think, I got to give the edge to Sushant. Looking at, down Ryan's team, like I've been harping on, he's got great pieces, but the depth isn't there. So he needs those pieces that he has to hit their absolute ceiling to get a good game.
Hmm.
Um,
Or you just
and
have
after
Brock
last week,
Bowers just dumping like 30 points in a game.
exactly. And as much as I love these guys that he's got on his team, it's hard to repeat that week to week.
Yeah.
So I'll give the edge to Sushant, but it's definitely a possibility for Ryan to play spoiler for Sushant's season here.
Hmm. Hmm. And our game of the week. Um, a very exciting game. Very. That was a soundbite, by the way, if for all those who had no idea what that was. Um, Kieran versus Reese. Very, very exciting. Kieran and Reese neck and neck for playoffs. Whoever wins here makes it to playoffs over the other person. If Reese wins, he makes it to playoffs. If Kieran wins, he makes it into playoffs. It's crazy.
Mhm.
Like, you go all year, you go 14, 13 weeks, through the year, and you're winning, losing, and then week 14, this is the week where it just fucking matters. You know, it's crazy. And Kieran has just been dying and dying, like praying to the fucking Allah, trying to make it into playoffs because he traded his opponent this week, a massive trade early in the season to basically ensure that he makes it into the playoffs. And if he doesn't make it into the playoffs, his pick that he traded to his opponent, Reese, is going to get a top 4 pick. So if you're in Reese's position, you really want to nail down Kieran. You nail down Kieran, then you get a top 4 pick guaranteed. You make it into playoffs. It's like a double whammy. It's a double hedge. Like you're just feeling great. You're jerking off at the end of the night, and you're like, I'm doing great. And then Kieran, we're gonna definitely want to call, a wellness check on him if he loses this week. That's for sure. But very exciting, very very exciting matchup.
Yeah, we got a tale of two teams here, like you mentioned. We've got, on one side, Reese, who a couple weeks into the season said, "My season's over. I'm building for the future." Traded away AJ Brown for picks and Michael Pittman. On the other side, you have Kieran, who said, "I'm making a push," and traded for AJ Brown, gave a couple picks, and Michael Pittman. And somehow, Reese has been doing better than Kieran. Just how fantasy goes. But yeah, it's crazy that it all comes down to this. It's a bit poetic, and it's really exciting to see both of these teams neck and neck fighting for a playoff spot. Yeah, it's just exciting to see.
This is awesome. Yeah, this is what fantasy is all about. And Kieran, he's got his pieces in play now. He's got
Hmm.
Mike Evans, he's got Metcalf, he's got Brown, he's got Kittle, he's got Higgins, Odunze. Well, actually, where is I just forgot. Where is what's his fucking name? Nico. Oh, he's on bye week. That
Yeah, Nico's on
sucks.
by,
Okay, so
but
Nico
still,
would
he's
have been
got
in.
such good depth.
Yeah, that he has
Like
fantastic depth.
Odunze is your like second flex. That's incredible, and
That's awesome.
the ceiling, like I said, with Jameis is huge. So I
Yeah.
gotta give it to I gotta give it to Kieran on this. I
Mhm.
don't like Algier. It's
Mhm.
no secret that I don't like the meatball running backs, and Algier is the worst offender. Um, but I still got to give it to Kieran. I think he's just got better pieces overall, with the exception of Josh Allen, who Reese has him named God as his nickname, and he's kind of looking like that this season. But yeah, I give the edge to Kieran. I think overall,
Mhm.
everywhere else, he's built a little bit better.
Yeah. Um. Just to play devil's advocate, because if we both double up on Kieran, then there's gonna be some sort of mystical
Yeah, he's
um
cursed.
curse that will ensure that he's going to lose. So I'm going to take the side of Reese this week. Because if I'm in Reese's seat right now, if I'm Reese, I lose, that's okay because I was tanking in the first place. If I win, I guess what the hell, I'm in playoffs. Let's try and make a win. And then you also get, basically that losing position pick. I mean, no matter what happens, Reese is having a top 4 pick. Either, you know, it's his pick or it's Kieran's pick. So if you're Reese, you got a really good team. This upcoming draft is definitely running back loaded, which is definitely something that Reese is going to be looking into heavily, considering he's starting Roschon Johnson right now. So he definitely needs. Oh my God, he has so many running backs on injured reserve. Losing J.K. Dobbins hurts.
The killer.
Absolute killer. So, you wish you had Dobbins in moments like this, but this is gonna be a scrappy fight. They're both playing running backs that are basically RB2s on their team. Roschon Johnson being an RB2 and Tyler Edger being an RB2. So, if I'm gonna say which point is kind of the fault here, I'm gonna say the running backs is where it's gonna really make or break for either team. Um, and I feel like Kieran has a bit of a higher likelihood of that happening, but um, you know, Washington is going into Arizona. So Kenneth Walker may be able to just outperform. Arizona is known for having terrible home games, so this could be a sneaky week where Kenneth Walker just drops like a 20 burger out of nowhere after, being MIA, 6 points last week and then 13 for the past 3 weeks. So, very, very fun matchup for this weekend. Very excited. Thank you so much for, being around for this, first regular season of the God Gamer Cup. I'm really happy to have started this league. I'm really happy to have, every single one of you here. I hope that you're, listening up to this point. We're 45 minutes into this podcast. So, if you are listening, really appreciate it. Much love. And I'm just really excited for playoffs. I'm really excited for the off season. And just thank you so much for making this so fun. So really appreciate you all.
Thanks, God Gamers. No more talking. It's time to play the game.
Time to play the game.